So today I'm joined by Elaine from Pickled Ginger, and Elaine is an expert in SEO and works with e-commerce businesses and small businesses to help them with to get their organic rankings better. Today we're going to talk about Google's new page experience update, which is rolling out in May, and we're going to discuss what that means to us as e-commerce retailers. Hi Elaine, welcome to the show.
Hi Sarah, thank you very much for having me. Thank you so much.
That's okay. Should we start off by explaining what exactly this update is, and so people know what it's actually talking about?
Well, I think a lot of people, especially kind of small businesses who run the e-commerce platforms, can get a little bit nervous when they hear SEO and Google algorithms and think it's, something they don't need to know about, or it's too scary for them to know about. But actually, I'd say to any small business owner that, there's something we can all learn and see the bigger picture. So Google per se, when we talk about SEO, search engine optimization, ultimately we say Google as the search because we default it to that one, a search engine, because it has over 92% of the market share. And it's intuitive and it's very clever, and they've invested hundreds of thousands and millions of pounds. So that's why I speak about Google a lot rather than search engines, which can be Bing, Yahoo and stuff. Anyway, so Google algorithms, believe it or not, they come out quite a few times within a year. We don't even know of them as lay people. You won't even know if you run a small business or e-commerce site. However, what they have done this time is told us that they're going to roll this one out, and even given us guidelines about how we can help ourselves. So that in itself is actually quite unusual for Google to actually let us know what's coming and say, why don't you help yourself by doing this? Why they do it all the time and why Google roll out these new algorithms is because ultimately they want us as consumers to have a really good user experience when we hit anyone's website. So really, I think of Google as a matchmaker. So this latest one that's rolling out in May is called the page experience, as you said, and there are some jargony words that are thrown around that shouldn't scare the life out of anyone. They're called core web vitals. It's like, oh my God, heart attack kind of thing, Actually, all it is really is what Google would like from our websites for our customers and consumers is they want really good speed. They want fast download speeds, and they also want our websites to be really easy to navigate. So when you land on our site, be it the landing page, the home page, a certain product, Google wants us as the website owners to give a really obvious, quick, relative, simple solution whereby the answer is there, be it that, yes, it's the product I want, or I've got all the information, very easy to be able to check out. And there you go. So actually, when we're talking about the algorithm, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people forget that we all think of Google as this big beast. And as advertisers, they're always changing stuff, and we're going as advertisers, oh, why do they keep changing this? This is really annoying. But ultimately, they are doing it all for the benefit of the people searching, because there's nothing worse than searching for something on Google and either not getting the results of what you expect,
and
as you say, also clicking on a result, whether that's an ad or organic, but we're talking about organic today, obviously. You're clicking on that link and getting to the website, and then finding that it's a horrible experience, and you just don't want to stay there. You want to go back to the results. So I can 100% see where we're going with this and how important it is for all of us to embrace this and to kind of
and if we know what little things we need to do, or at least we're aware of it and aware of what's going on with our own website, then at least we know. But you did touch very briefly on the organic versus the paid, for example. But actually, if we do this for our own websites, just thinking, right, we're doing it for an organic search, once we're doing that, should you go paid advertising, you are more likely to convert that click than if you were before. So of course Google is, it's money making machine when it comes to ads. but it once again, it's got that kind of, that beast to it. But we've got to remember, it's full of people there. It's gosh, worldwide. It's not just one big mothership robot. It's full of people continually learning. So yeah.
So you mentioned these core web vitals, and you mentioned page speed as the first thing that I heard when you say page speed. What do we need to do as advertisers? What does it actually mean for us? And where do we even start?
Okay.
To kind of figure out what to do.
Yeah, it's a really, really good question, because it can be overwhelming. I would actually say when it comes to page speed, there are normally two things when I'm doing an audit that come up time and time again for me looking at e-commerce websites that slow a website down. And they are normally image sizes. And if you have video and stuff, it might be embedded wrong or too long, and that really slows the website down. And the other one that it's one that people probably don't think about, but actually if I just say it out loud, they're going to go, oh yeah, of course, why wouldn't it? Or if you're a Shopify advertiser site, you may have many apps attached to your website. They are going to slow it down. And if you're WooCommerce or something, again, you're going to have plugins, the same thing. So without realizing, every time you add something to your website, check, do I really need that on my website? Or is it like, oh, I got a fun download one, it was relatively cheap? Because what happens with a plugin or an app on Shopify is that every time you plug something in, you're taking it to another webmaster. And so in those seconds, it's a bit like a satellite, it's going up, and all those seconds seem like nothing to us, but to Google in a search, it does. So yes, so it's definitely, I would talk about image sizing and check how many apps you have or plugins you have on your website.
Okay, so let's tackle one of those at a time then. Let's talk about images first, because obviously an e-commerce website, it has to be visually appealing. We have to have lovely images, otherwise, nowadays people are not impressed if you don't see the lovely images. So, and you're talking about image size. How do I go about, first of all, checking what my image sizes are? Is there a way I can do that, or what do I need to, how do I go about sort of looking and checking what image sizes I've got?
Okay, so it's a really good question, and it really does vary on what platform you're on. So I don't just mean you might be on Shopify versus WooCommerce. You might be on a themed basis, or you might have had it customized. So it's either, if someone built it for you and it's a developer, I'd always kind of check with them saying, the sizes you put in, what sizes were they? Just to check with them, because actually developers, another good question, or sorry, you've made me think of that question. Is that sometimes if we have asked someone to build a site for us, they're actually website developers. They're not SEO people, so they are actually about structuring it and coding it and And again, website designers are different to website developers. They are they're creative, they're making it look pretty, but it's not their job to optimize it. And that's one of my little bugbears that I have, that I'm hoping to train and talk to more kind of web designers and developers to say, actually, you're sending off your lovely client and a great design, but are the images the right size, and have you embedded too much video in? So e-commerce, and that's where I think sadly they can get hit quite a lot by the Google thing, because things do slow down. So what I would say is actually really look at your own website, make sure that it's a bit like where your accounts at home, like don't leave it to the partner or whatever. Always know where your insurance is, always know where your accounts are. I think about that, the analogy, when I've got my website, it's like, who hosts it, what platform is it on, is it coded? And then you really think, okay, you can just go in, ironically, to Google, go on a search engine and ask what are the best sizes. And so Canva, for example, is very good, as we know, is like a product to be able to tell you the sizing for blog sizes or social media sizes, but it doesn't always tell you what the best optimal size is for a website. And if you go into the Shopify, I'm talking Shopify a lot, but of course it could be Squarespace or WordPress. But if you actually go into the support community section online of Shopify, it will really give you so many details, about what size is right. And it might be the banner, but actually it might be on the landing page, and you might have a really big one or a one that's, going back. So keep them, but it's literally a case of thinking, oh, they are way too big. And thinking, so it doesn't mean you can't change them, but it's knowing that, okay, so either you might be a bit tech happy and think, well, I can do that myself, or it's okay, there are loads of people who can help you resize them. So again, another thing, it's quite funny, the irony, of course, I'm saying resize them, a lot of people then get an app or a plugin to resize them, and that takes a lot of...
How many of us got Smush It on our WordPress sites?
Yeah,
that's what that does, isn't it? Is Smush It
and that's a plug that smushes them, kind of thing. But if it really works, and then it's like anything, it's pros and cons. Okay, that one really works for you, so you've got the Smush It, you've got that to be able to resize you. So I think it's really, when I talk about this for anyone, I think if you understand and you think, oh, okay, at least I know that's probably the only problem, and they're easy fixes. It's not like going back in and having to do a math fix. It's thinking, okay, that's probably where my website is slowing down, and I can fix it. But also it's a case of then I'll maybe have a look at your media library around the back end, and just even because a lot of people change them again. So even if it's, say, for example, on your product page, you could maybe go into your media library and just have a look at them there, because all the kind of image sizes show up.
Yeah. Do you have any recommended tools for changing image sizes? Because one that I really like, and I use it quite often, is Pixlr, because it's online and it's free, and you can just upload an image, and then you can either crop it, or you can just, with a couple of clicks, you can change the dimensions. So instead of being 5,000 pixels, because that's how images are measured, isn't it, in pixels, you can bring it down to 1,000, say, for example, and and then you just save it again, and it's just a smaller thing. But that's the one that I use. Are there any other tools?
There are so many. Do you know what? There are so many. And what we'll do is I'll do a couple of my best as well to do, and then we can link them to your podcast. That would be good for how you're going to do that. And so let's do that.
So images. So then obviously we're talking product images, category images, homepage images, and so on. So that's the first thing.
Banners. It's
okay. So the other one that you mentioned was apps. So let's focus on, let's kind of talk about Shopify, but as you said, it also applies to plugins. When it comes to apps, is it simply just a case of going through your back end and saying, do I actually use that one, do I need it, and deleting it, or is there anything else that we need to do?
So it's a really valid question. So it seems really simple, and I would say when we're doing audits, and I can see, actually I would say to my client, literally go in, look at your apps, and tell me which ones you think you don't need. And then actually what I would probably do is weigh up, actually, do I actually ever use this versus, maybe you can kind of look on your Google Analytics kind of thing and think, has anything kind of coming through that way? But literally, that is exactly where I would start. I would just literally look at the back end. And, there are so many. I mean, many of our clients have 40, 50. They don't even know they have them. They don't even know they have them. And so one of them might be, clearly to me, using up a lot of space. However, it's necessary. It's really going to help something along the back end. It might be part of the actual the shop, or a different part of it. But so don't think, how can I make that one smaller? You can't, and it's necessary. And you know what? It's a really good topic to discuss, actually, because a lot of people are afraid to get a Shopify expert to code something in because they think it's going to be more expensive. But sometimes if you've got a Shopify website and you've built it up yourself and you've got a theme, and you've actually think, actually, I really want this kind of these apps, but it's slowing down. Sometimes in the long run, having someone code parts for you will be cheaper than continually having the new apps to run along the side. And I think that's a conversation that people are a little bit nervous of, because they're thinking, well, coding must be super expensive. But Shopify, even if it's custom built and it's there, it can still be coded.
Wow, that's really interesting that you say that, because I have to say that that probably wouldn't have occurred to me to think, as you say, of that as an option. You say quite rightly, you tend to think, oh my goodness, may have something custom coded just for my website, going to cost a fortune. And yes, it might cost, obviously it's going to cost money, but yes, it might cost, I don't know, hundreds, thousands, but if your whole business is run on Shopify and that's your main source of income, how many people are you losing, and how many rankings are you suffering because of this page load speed? So I guess you have to think about the balance, as you say, between the long-term gain and the short-term investment that you might have to make.
And I think it is, because for example, say we're on Shopify. At Shopify, I think, when anyone just, goes from hobby to this is a business, and that happens a lot, especially last year, people are like, oh my gosh, this is really taking off. I want to learn more. I want to learn more. So for me, having this conversation with you, I'm so grateful, because I think anything to be able to help small businesses. I'm a small business as well, so I get it. So I'm really always learning. But from what I can impart is to say that actually sometimes don't be fearful of what you might be able to do, because Shopify can get more and more expensive, because you'll grow. And at what stage do you then go on to a custom built one? But actually the one you have already could have those little peaks. So if you've got, say, 15, 20 apps that you're thinking, I really need this and I'm a bit confused, and I'll try this one, I'll try that one, and they might cost, and you've got the monthly costs of Shopify. Actually, like you say, pros and cons. Is your website converting? Are you being found for the keywords? Are your ads converting? If not, why not? Possibly it's to do with the speed, the download. You're not converting right because maybe the app's not working right. Everything for e-commerce and Shopify is to really, send that client through that customer journey to convert and click and buy and keep. Also, we want to keep those people. And there's so many apps and fun pop-ups and stuff, but all of that. Love a pop-up. And they're great, but it's a case of really be aware of what you've got on your website, slowing it down.
So if people want to check, is there a way that they can check how fast or slow their website is? I know that's something that we haven't touched on, but that's the difference between your website on mobile and desktop. And so maybe can we, first of all, talk about how people can check what definitely is, and then maybe we can talk a little bit more about
that's a really good idea.
Mobile.
So first of all, Google have a free tool that any of us can use. It's called something like Page Developer Google, but again we'll link it of the URL. And all you do is you type it up onto your Google search engine, and it'll just have an analyzer, and all you do is put your own domain URL in there, and it takes a minute, if that, and it analyzes your website for speed, and it will come up with the mobile versus desktop. And at least so we kind of you just touched on this. Again, it's a really interesting one, because people often look at their mobile and want to cry and immediately think, oh god, that's awful. It's okay. Mobile is always slower than your desktop, and there are various reasons for that. Would you like me to explain that now?
Yes, please do.
So I think mobile is always slower than desktop because of the age of the phone, where you live, the contract you have with your provider, how much data you're allowed to download, Wi-Fi connection. All of those variables are so hard. So yes, most Shopify and web builders or WooCommerce are responsive, built for mobile in mind, but then are they optimized for mobile in mind? And that's why we have to make it faster, because, and it really depends. And I would say, again, using your Google Analytics or Shopify Analytics to understand where your users are coming in. Are they coming in from do they come in from desktop? Do they come in from mobile? And it's knowing your audience. So for example, if you've got, but most of us ultimately are on our mobile.
Yeah.
Interestingly, last year, the desktop usage went up because we've been working from home, everyone's home. And so we're actually, rather than on our phone, we tend to be on our laptops or desktops because it's easier.
Yeah.
However, when we move again, we will be going back onto mobile. So there is a reason why your mobile will no doubt be a lot. And from some people, the percentages, like it could be 25 out of 100, whereas your desktop might be 89. And it's very
had that
normal.
when I tested it a while ago, and my mobile page speed was 26.
Yeah,
and my desktop was really, really good.
Yeah,
and it had a lovely. And then the mobile, I was just. Yeah. It was awful.
Yeah, but I think it's like anything. Rather than panicking, thinking, oh, it's never going to work, it can. You can, but I think if we know it, think, oh, okay, there's a reason for that. We know it can get faster because desktop's doing okay. So something we're doing right. And so there are many things we can do. But I think if you know what you're working on, but also really, you mentioned it before, I think just before we went on air, to talk about the difference between your audience. Where is your audience coming in from?
Yeah.
And actually, if you think, oh, they might be bouncing off a site, and when I say bouncing off, it just means, say I've gone into a library, I'm Mrs. Google, and I'm searching on Google, I've got into a library, and there's no category, the books are all over the floor. I'm not going to think, gosh, I need that product page on silky dresses for middle-aged women. Don't know who I'm talking about. But I just walk out because I can't find it quickly. Yeah. So it is all about categories, speed, all those little things together really help us stay on a page rather than bounce off. So actually, if you're thinking mobile are bouncing off but desktop are staying, why? Is it a different audience? So it's thinking of literally a little bit deeper. It's going backwards a bit, thinking about the keywords, the audience, and is it the right audience you're attracting as well?
Yeah. It's really, I'm going to get on my high horse now because this is a pet peeve of mine, talking about navigation and product organization on a website.
Yeah.
Because I used to spend with my website, I don't know how many times I changed the way that the products were organized. I used to spend hours and hours and hours tweaking and fiddling and trying to think, well, but if somebody wants to search for something that's blue, then how they can't search for blue, and it really annoys me that people, I don't think, necessarily think carefully
when they're building
enough
the site.
About how they are going to structure that navigation and those product categories, so that when somebody comes in, they can quite easily say, okay, I would like to look at, like you say, dresses of a certain color. And I mean, we're getting into different territory now.
Yeah, but it's
product
an
filtering.
example.
But it's what I'm talking about is the fact that it's a user experience.
Yes.
And Google can see how people behave on your website, can't they? And I think that's
totally.
If they see that people land, they kind of and then because they can't find it. If they spend 10 minutes on your site because they looking at lots of products and looking at lots of categories, then they can see that, can't they? And
they absolutely on Google Analytics. If you ever kind of go in there, and I think we're going to touch upon that on another podcast. The Google Analytics is, you might just have Shopify Analytics, but I'd always look at Google Analytics because it shows you the behavior of people. And there's like a heat map and a tree map. There's different ways of your visual to look at different things. Some people just like the heat map. Other people really like the kind of graphs. But ultimately, it tells you where people are landing, where people are going to from that page, where people are bouncing off. So you can see either what is that working for them? Are they finding what they want? Are they going to the cart and then coming away? So as an SEO expert, what we often see is we work towards looking at the menu structure, the category structure, and then I think a lot of people think, oh, I can't put that product at the same place as another category. Well, actually, of course you can, because if it's a case of me looking as a consumer for something, then I'm just going, oh God, I wasn't expecting. Then surprise, that really freaked me out. Didn't think my husband was home. Then it is a case of me as a consumer, I might not know the keyword you used to put. I might not know it's a chiffon dress under A-line. I just think, oh, what do I get? So I might go into a different category and that product will be there, but it was going to be on another one. But I think what I'd really like to say, well, now we've touched upon it, I know we've slightly gone off the speed, but I think we can always touch upon it again, is actually a product that you might be the same product in different categories. All you need is slightly different wording.
Yeah.
Because if it's the same, it'll be duplicated and Google won't like that. Yeah. And it's basically what Google will see is that you're trying to compete against yourself. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, well, we're confused, we're going. So you just change slightly the wording, a keyword kind of thing, but that's very fine. And I think you're absolutely right, because then you're giving me as a consumer looking for the right thing fast, you're giving me all those options very simply, and you're absolutely right. So I can see why it gets a bugbear when you know we should overthink it.
Yes,
setting out.
Yeah. You can't spend too much time organizing your navigation when it comes to an e-commerce shop, I don't think, unless you've got 6 products, in which case it doesn't really matter.
Well, no, exactly. Yeah, but as you grow, and this is hopefully, you know, talking to businesses who are growing and thinking, right, actually get it right at the beginning or tweak it at the beginning. And then understand about how Google searches engines and how searches websites, and then at least you know how things work. So yeah.
I think we'll probably wrap this up here, because we're going to do another. We're going to do another episode together, because we don't want this to turn into some mammoth episode talking about everything SEO.
Yeah.
But I really I love how you're so enthusiastic about all of this, and we just can't stress enough, can we, the importance of, I think probably when it comes to SEO, would you say page speed is probably one of the top influences
this year? Definitely.
Yeah,
it's fair to say this year definitely Google have really emphasized, and sadly I do think the e-commerce will get hit a bit more,
I think
because of the nature of the beast being very visual. However, it is letting us know, and it's saying, you know, things are fixable. So I think that's great. And remember, it's not going to be a May hit. Oh my gosh, if it's not optimized or changed immediately, nothing bad's going to happen. But what you'll see over time is that if you were ranking for something, then then it just won't, you're not helping yourself. So I think if we can all help ourselves as small businesses, think how can we make sure that's really great with that speed, because we are, as humans, we want things now. We want it now.
It's amazing how impatient we can be, isn't it? When a website won't load in about 3 seconds, that's it. Oh, it's too slow.
Yeah.
And I must admit, I'm very grateful that they are giving us some warning, because this is a little anecdote from experience of mine when I was running my e-commerce business. I'm sure it was May 2012. I think it was the first big penguin, I think it was, algorithm update. I used to get all my traffic came from organic. I didn't do any paid ads at the time, and I came into work one morning and there were no orders in the inbox, and I'm like, oh, that's odd, that's weird. Same next day, I would get 1 order, 2 a day if I was lucky, and overnight they'd made this algorithm change. Overnight, completely dropped off the search engine.
It's frightening.
I probably had some. It was the backlink one, I think. I had some backlinks coming in from, I didn't even know I had these backlinks coming in. But Google saw them, immediate slap, completely, and it literally killed the business, quite literally. So we should be so grateful that they're actually giving us some warning. And I'm not suggesting that this is going to be, people are going to suddenly lose their businesses overnight. No, but the fact that they're giving us a heads up and a warning should tell us that we need to listen to them, because
because they are, you know, they are in charge.
They are in charge, and they know what's coming. So let's listen to them, shall we? 100%. It's been amazing chatting. As I said, we're going to do another episode. We're going to talk about some other topics when it comes to SEO. All the things that we've talked about today, anything that we've got links to, they'll all be linked in the show notes. So we'll compile that. So and I guess can we put some links to maybe some more information, and obviously I'll link to Elaine's website so that you can go on and
yeah, absolutely.
find a bit.
There'll be things that I'm really happy to share, and I've got freebies and stuff, and anything that I think, oh, a bit more than, I'll definitely add it, because, you know, from my, you know, being a small business, I love being able to support other small businesses, and hey, I love shopping, so if I can find something without going to a big shop and finding it unique, I love that. So I'm all for it.
Brilliant. Well, this has been great. Thanks ever so much, Elaine.
Welcome.
And yeah, I look forward to talking to you in the next episode, and we'll
absolutely
carry on talking about SEO.
Woo.
Thanks
So much.